Hi there. I'm going to look at the word compassion and how to live the word compassion as a practical application of myself in this reality as what is best for all. The practical application of myself as within and as what is best for all. So compassion up to this point has in fact proven itself to be very useless, because where is the compassion in this reality? And the fact that we would need something like compassion, which is a little bit like pity, and like I feel your pain and I can relate to your pain, and which is like pity a little bit. The fact that such a word even exists actually implies that there is a lot of suffering in this world going on, and that's why we are compassionate, because compassionate is like, and compassion is a word that has been created because there is so much suffering in the world, and because we needed some kind of reaction towards that suffering. We needed some kind of inner experience that would validate the existence of suffering. For instance, the compassion of Jesus Christ that he felt for the suffering, and then we go and glorify Jesus Christ and his compassion to, in a way, validate the existence of suffering. And then we feel compassionate just like Jesus Christ, and then we glorify this experience of compassion within ourselves to validate the existence of suffering, because as long as we feel compassionate, we will never actually stop the suffering, because the entire experience of compassion is based on suffering. So that means that this entire identity of and as compassion that we built up within ourselves as an energetic experience cannot exist if not for suffering, if not for the existence of suffering. So we need suffering to exist so that we can feel compassionate, so that we can feel like the big hero, the good Samaritan, the Jesus Christ, the Messiah, the good one, the good person. And I mean, it doesn't matter how compassionate we feel, it doesn't change anything about this reality. No matter how we feel about reality and about the suffering that goes on, and it doesn't matter if we look at the suffering and see that the suffering exists, and it doesn't matter if we even feel their pain or pity them or feel sad because of all the suffering, and it doesn't matter if we're sensitive and we feel so bad that there's so much suffering in the world, and we feel so sad and we're so sensitive and oh my god, it doesn't matter, because none of those feelings ever change anything about this suffering in the world, which only proves that all these feelings are completely useless and actually only serve to validate the ego as self-importance, as the idea of that self is the most important being in existence, which it isn't. So so that's the reasons why compassion has never actually been real, and those that claim compassion and those that try to sell and profess compassion as an inner experience to be something glorious and to be something that will apparently lift us up or allow us to transcend this reality, or that beings that will glorify the experience of compassion are actually just promoting self-interest, because these beings obviously very clearly don't seem to actually look at reality and see that compassion as this inner feeling never changed the world. It never changed anything about reality. I mean, it never really mattered that people felt compassionate. I mean, all those beings that felt compassionate were just sitting on their asses meditating and feeling all compassionate, like conjuring up all these various experiences within themselves wherein they can make themselves believe and other people believe that they care so much about the world and they are such sensitive spirits. They are so sensitive, oh, they're so compassionate, they're so good, they're like Jesus fucking Christ. But, it's not real, because it's not. What the fuck does it even matter that all these people, what these people feel inside? I mean, the physical reality, the reality is that they are just sitting there, standing on the sidelines, watching this reality and using that experience of compassion to, in a way, give some value and worth to their lives, which are in essence quite worthless, because they're just standing there doing nothing, just watching reality, watching all the suffering in reality, doing absolutely nothing about it, which makes their lives very worthless. And the inner experience of compassion and the glorification of the inner experience of compassion is simply the attempt to add some value to our lives that are in itself very worthless and inferior, because here we are looking at all the suffering in this world, looking at all those people starving to death, all those mothers and fathers that cannot support their children, and children that are simply dying, and here we are, we're sitting here, we're watching it, doing absolutely nothing. Doing absolutely nothing to change the situation, claiming apparent powerlessness, or claiming that for some reason somehow, oh, I'm not a politician, so what do I have to say about this world? Oh, I didn't go to college, I didn't go to school, I'm not a politician, so, who am I in this world? Instead of realizing that, hey, politicians and leaders and those in power are also just people. I mean, they are simply people who realized that other people are actually are actually very much able to be manipulated and to be deceived. So they just went like, okay, why don't I just take power then, and I can speak the right words and dress the right way and behave the right way, and people will then simply listen to me and they will look up at me, and I will have my power and I will feel important, etc. So these people, these beings aren't superior, and they aren't really more powerful than the rest of us. They're just, people who basically seized the opportunity to get what they want, which is power, which is basically what we all want. And the only difference is that we have allowed ourselves to be deceived and be manipulated, and be deceived by the apparent greatness and glory of the politicians and the presidents and the leaders, and wow, they look so powerful. But it's all an act. I mean, it's all just an outward presentation, just like we're all simply acting and presenting ourselves as compassionate, for instance, or loving, powerful, strong, or I don't know, feminine, masculine, interesting, intellectual, smart, clever, funny, interesting, attractive, sexy, whatever. When in essence we're all just beings, we're all just living beings, we're all here, so we all have that power to basically change this world. All we have to do is fucking stand up and move ourselves. Move our asses. The only thing that's stopping us is ourselves. Is our emotional experiences experiences within ourselves like fear, which isn't actually real. Because it's us, we have created that fear, we have allowed fear to exist within ourselves, so we are completely able to stop fear. If you don't believe me, you can check out Desteni at desteni.org, and you will find awesome tools there that will assist you in stopping fear and actually being able to change yourself completely as a living being, as the living expression and application of yourself in this world, to, to actually realize these things, to actually realize, be able to look at this world and realize what is really going on, and be able to actually stand up in the face of all of it, instead of passively sitting back and claiming powerlessness and claiming that you are apparently a inferior, powerless being, which you're not. It's just a belief system which also can be stopped, all through the application of self-forgiveness. So check out Desteni and give it a go. So compassion. So compassion, for compassion to be real, it has to be obviously applied. I mean, any form of inner experience that simply remains an inner experience as like something that you claim, like, oh, I feel compassion and I feel for them and I feel so sad for them, blah blah blah. I mean, it's just something you say to make yourself in some way more valuable, seem more valuable, because you have this entire inner world experience, you have this entire inner experience, this deep, profound personality with deep, profound experiences. But really, I mean, that is all worthless if you're not putting that in application, if you're not actually standing up and within the realization that this kind of suffering that exists in this world and that is happening to our fellow beings is simply unacceptable. This is not okay. I would not want this for myself, and I realize that I have the power to actually stand up and do something about it and change this world through, for instance, educating myself, going into politics, changing the infrastructures, speaking in vlogs and blogs, and getting to know myself, realizing my brainwashing, realizing that I have allowed myself to become programmed, and stand up and fucking figure out this mess and make sure that it gets sorted out. That is true compassion in action, in living application, as the only compassion that can actually be real, and that we are presenting with Desteni. And with equal money. Equal money is compassion in action. Equal money is stopping ourselves from the self-centered beings that we have allowed ourselves to become, that claim compassion as some kind of inner profound experience, yet don't actually live it, which makes it completely worthless and non-existent. Equal money is actually realizing that if we say something, we have to live the words we speak. Otherwise, we're just liars. So the words we speak must be practical at all times, must be practically livable, and must be able to be lived by all life unconditionally. So that we may actually create a world that is best for all living beings, a world that you and me would really like to exist in, wherein we would actually be able to coexist. Within mutual respect and understanding, and not like these fake inner energetic realities wherein we separate ourselves from ourselves, because that is actually only possible because of this whole capitalistic system wherein we're basically being supported to not give a damn about each other and to basically seclude ourselves within our own personal private little realities with our own money, wherein it seems as though we really are completely living on an island. Each and every one of us is completely living on an island. That is what the capitalist system supports. It's ignorance, it's selfishness, it's self-centeredness, and which completely makes it able for beings to lie and to present themselves as these apparently compassionate beings, yet not in fact live it, and everyone else will believe it because they themselves are also deceivers, so we will never actually look through and see through the deception of each other because we are so caught up with our own deception. And that is what needs to be stopped, because we're simply messing up this reality, not just for ourselves but for everybody else and for the animals and nature and everything that's here. We're just messing everything up, so that just has to stop. It's simple, and it will stop with an equal money system. So visit and investigate an equal money system at equalmoney.org and realize that what we are experiencing at this moment is just simply completely unacceptable, and the reality is that we are completely capable and able to stand up and change it in a heartbeat. It's actually quite simple. The only thing that's necessary is for beings to simply realize that and actually stand up. So, okay, thanks. Bye.